One mistake that I see often with my ambient guitar students is that they don't get their extreme reverb settings under control. It creates songs that sound like this. And it's even worse when you play in mono, it feels all stuck in the middle. Using copious and generous amounts of reverb is not the problem here. At the end of the day, we want to create ambience. The problem is when it starts masking the different layers of your song, when you start losing the clarity of your dry signal and of what you're playing on the fretboard. So in this video, I'm going to give you a handful of tips that you can apply to clean it up and still use generous amount of reverbs without losing the clarity. So what do I mean by extreme amounts of reverb? It's when you play through a very long reverb that resonates for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, such as when you play, it is resonating for a very, very long time. So you want to keep it very long, but the first tip is to lower the mix knob. You don't want it to be too loud because it's going to start masking what you're playing, right? I cannot clearly hear what I'm playing, right? So now, as you can see on my Strymon Big Sky MX, the decay is quite long. It's probably up to 10 seconds. 10,000 milliseconds is 10 seconds, right? But the mix knob is way too high. We're losing what I'm playing. So instead of putting at like 2 or 3 o'clock, we're going to back off on it at noon to retain some of the clarity of what I'm playing. So now if I play the same thing, we still have a nice tail that is ringing forever in the background, but it's much clearer what I'm playing, right? It's still not perfect, right? The second tip is to stay away from the extremes in the EQ controls. So if you're too bright or too dark, it's going to sound too muddy if it's too dark, and it's going to sound too present if it's too bright. So right now on the Strymon Big Sky MX, the tone knob is really up, really bright. So what I can do is to stay more in the middle at noon, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and go to taste there. So now I have a more balanced tone, slightly darker. Beautiful and much cleaner. So you can kind of adjust. If you have a very bright sounding clean signal like I do, then you can go a bit darker. But if you have a guitar, let's say semi or hollow, and it's more on the darker side when you're playing, something like this, for example, then what you could do is to compensate by going slightly brighter with the reverb, right? You want to have kind of a contrast between your dry signal and the reverb so that we can hear both very clearly. Tip number 3, if you have pre-delay controls on your reverb pedal, you can try using it. The pre-delay is going to add a few milliseconds between the time that you rake or you pick the note and when the reverb kicks in, right? It's going to clean up the picking attack of your dry signal so that we can hear it even more clearly. So if I go just to show you what it does, I went to the maximum pre-delay available on the Big Sky. It does this. Right, so now it's too big of a delay, right? So I'm going to back off on it. Right, so there's a little bit of a delay. You don't have to perceive the delay too much. Maybe I can back off on it some more. right? So now it's not instantaneous, but very, very close. Right, so now we cleaned it up a lot. And if in your arrangement you still have some layers masking each other, tip number 4 is to back down on the decay a smidge. Of course, you want the reverb to decay for a very long time, to resonate for a long time, but sometimes it's a bit overkill to go 10 plus seconds. Even if you add 5 or 6 or 7 seconds, it's gonna be plenty, especially if you're playing a lot on the fretboard. So now I'm about at 6 seconds and a half. It's still plenty. It's gonna help if you wanna change chords, right? Because when the reverb is too long, then the chords are kind of blending all together into a big cluster, right? So you want to avoid that. So you can back off a bit on the decay. And sometimes the problem is not really the settings or the sound itself, it's the arrangement of the song, right? So tip number 5 is to create a less busy arrangement. What I did in the beginning is that I had some chords and I was doing a strumming pattern with it. So if I come back to a setting where I have a lot of decay for 10 seconds, no pre-delay, bright tone, and a lot of mix, it's not working with the busyness of a strumming pattern like this. It's what I said, right? It creates a big cluster chord because it's too much present, too much of everything, right? So what you want to do is to create a different arrangement. It's ambient guitar music after all. So instead of strumming or being too busy with your arrangement, leave space for things to breathe, right? So you could do just one chord like this. Or you could play some chord swells with your volume pedal instead, right? And a sub tip, I could say it's tip number 6, but you can even slow down the tempo of what you're playing, right? Just so that you leave a little bit more space for everything to ring, right? So I forgot, I'm gonna come back to all of the best settings with the lower decay, a little bit of pre-delay, a darker tone a bit, and less mix so that I can have the optimal sound. And then I'm gonna try it with a slower tempo. Right? So the reverbs are still very long in the background, but they are under control now. So let's compare the first version with the new version where I apply all of the tips in this video. It makes a stunning difference. If you want to go further with me, you can check out my free mini course, A Beginner's Guide to Ambient Guitar. It's the first link in the description box. In only 3 simple steps, I'm going to show you how to get started writing your own ambient guitar songs and ambient guitar arrangements by knowing what kind of gear you need to get, how to get started writing a simple song idea and flesh it out into a looper to create some layers and create some of the most popular ambient guitar tones. So if it's your first time trying to create ambient guitar music, it's a really nice resource. I have a downloadable in there. It's about 45 minutes of online course videos, all for free. So once again, you can click on the first link in the description box to enroll. It's my gift to you for watching my video until the end. And if you want to watch more on my channel, you can click on this video to get more ambient guitar tutorials. Thank you so much once again, and see you soon. Until next time, au revoir.